Hello family, welcome to HGW Community 72. The HGW stands for Homegrown Wellness. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are not, welcome back. Thank you for watching. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get right on into this. I hope everybody had a really good weekend, happy Monday morning. And, grateful for the start of a new week, right? So anyhow, this morning I'm going to talk to the age-old question. Y'all, I'm in the process of locking my hair. So you're going to see me doing this a lot, just kind of reinforcing my locks. Okay? So, I'm going to talk to the age-old question. Does a woman, or do women, marry a man? And obviously I'm talking to heterosexual people on this, right? So do women tend to marry men like their father? Or do women marry their dads? That's usually how it's put. So first, let's talk about the role or the position of a dad, right? A dad is a protector, a provider, a hero, a comedian, a dad should be a leader, obviously the leader in the family, the head of the household, right? And I'm talking not just to the traditional role of a dad, but I think it's a worldwide expectation, right, of a dad's role. A dad is, a girl's hero. Even if you grew up in a household and your dad was not there, any girl, any daughter has the expectation or the thought of what a dad would be and should be, even if you didn't grow up in the household and your dad was there, right? There is this image of what a dad should be like. And definitely hero is at the top of the list. A dad is strong. I remember my dad, when I was little, he would tell me to grab hold of his bicep, and he would do curls with me, hanging from the biceps, or his biceps. A dad is an adventurer, right? So, do women tend to marry their dads? So I gave some definitions of what a dad is, right? Their position in the family. Definitely head of the household, protector, provider, comedian, mechanic, gardener, fisherman, sportsman. So I will speak to the women that I know that are still married, those that are divorced, the conversations I've had with them, they always tend to come back around to, yep, girl, they'll say something like, girl, I married my daddy, or I should have known, if the marriage or the relationship ended, they may say something like, oh, I should have known better, because he said, on our first date or whatever, he said something that my dad would have said. I should have known better, And now I'll just speak to me. First husband, last husband, all had my dad's stature, even in complexion. My dad was considered to be chocolate, very distinct facial features, very strong, not broad, but very strong nose. I have my dad's nose, actually. Very athletic. Loved working on classic American muscle cars, loved American cars, very mechanically inclined. And I'm talking about my first and my last husband in comparison to my father. Soft-spoken, if the voice was raised, then something major was done. Usually would never be taken out of character. If my dad came out of character, then something was about to happen, because he just wasn't one to do that. Great providers, like my dad. Actually, my dad wore a uniform daily. He was a city bus driver. He drove for Connecticut Transit, which is, where we live. So every morning my dad would, get up very, very early. My dad was up 4:30 every morning getting ready to, go drive his route, and back then, the bus drivers had to be dressed, they had to wear ties and like shoes and things like that. So he was in a uniform. First husband, military. Last husband, truck driver, but always was in some type of company uniform for the most part, right? Drove for a specific company. My dad liked sports, but was not a big sportsman. Like, for instance, like on Sundays, football, you wouldn't see my dad watching the games. He really liked boxing. Like, that was his sport of choice. He liked boxing, so growing up in our home on Sundays, football wouldn't be on. And for me, neither my first or my last husband, they liked sports, but you didn't see them watching basketball or football on Sundays. And for me, I remember saying, kind of naive, right? But I remember saying to myself before I got married, the man for me would be someone very similar to my dad, who wouldn't be, taking time out every Sunday to watch like a football game. Like, I knew that would be the man for me, and I was very naive. What else? My dad was a very attractive man, so my mom would talk about women would just gawk over my dad, and men that I married, you know, same situation. Would go out and women would just, oh my goodness, like I remember my first husband, you know, we high school sweethearts, got married like right out of high school. And I remember like having issues with girls in school, like what's, you know, because I was something else. So you wasn't stepping to mine, I'll just say that, you know. So yeah. So to answer the question, I think that is definitely something, yes, that is what a lot of us do. We marry our dads. Not literally, obviously, that would be weird. But the image of our fathers, there's a sense of safety and security, and that's what we long for, you know, once we've left our parents' house and, you know, we've lived a little and we've met this man that asks us, you know, for our hand in marriage, and hopefully he gets to meet our fathers and asks our father if, you know, permission to marry, right, their daughter. And if dad gives the approval, then that's just the icing on the cake, so to speak. So yes, I do. To answer that age-old question, I absolutely think that is what we do. I know I did it more than once, and it's not a bad thing. And I think it also answers the question, you know, regardless of if we as women want to admit it or not, you know, our fathers are the head, truthfully, in our lives, rather they've been in our lives or not. And it is what it is, right? That's nature. So that's it, family. I hope you enjoy this. If you are not a subscriber, please consider subscribing to the channel. I have a goal to reach 1,000 subscribers, and I know that we definitely can do that. Listen, as always, remember, be great to yourself because you are great. Be great to your family. They deserve your greatness. Be great to your community. Without love, self-love first, we have absolutely nothing. And as always, clarity is key, but without consistency, we have no balance. The sun is